Welcome back to another episode of Global Card Collectors. Today we have a third-time return guest, right? Justin, Vintage FB 52. Is this his second time?
No, I think it's
I,
like
I
four or
it might
five
be
now.
fourth or fifth, actually. Yeah.
Ooh, my bad. Shock. Okay. Yeah, well, he's it's true. You were, yeah, but you've been with me twice, I think is the thing.
Correct. This will
That's
be the
right.
second
Okay.
time
That's
with
right.
you. And I think Will and I did maybe 2 or 3 solos otherwise.
It's true.
That's
It's
right. We've
true.
done some boxing
100%.
ones and the initial vintage football ones. Yeah.
So how you doing, Justin?
I'm good, man. Always happy to be back and get to talk about cards and just, kind of catch up with you guys. So yeah, man, I'm good.
Where are you right now in the world?
I am in Tampa, Florida, where the weather is moving from beautiful to swelteringly hot. So we're getting into that time of year where better to spend time in the AC or the pool. But yeah, man, it's all good. So yeah.
So Justin is he's officially a fan of the channel or friend of the channel. Sorry, Justin is going to actually have a couple episodes with other guests coming up on our channel, so we're excited about that. So I mean, you are the most you've participated the longest on Global Card Collectors, most episodes, I think, right?
hmm
It's been a few. Yeah, I think my first one was, I can't believe it now. It's almost it was back in like a year and a half ago now, like 18 months ago. I think it was like
Is it that
January
long? Wow.
2024,
Wow.
right? Is that
Right on.
right? It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a while. It might not be January, but it's quite a while ago. And I remember that first episode actually was received really well with the community because there's just not much vintage football stuff out there. What are we going to be talking about today, lads?
Yeah, so we have Justin is taking us through the world of 90s football cards, which according to him, he's really going to pick up in 1995 and run it kind of through the decade, but with some nods to 93 and 94. And he has way more experience than either Will or I do. So, I don't know where exactly we're going to go, but we're just going to kind of take you through the
Neither
lineage
do
from
I. So we'll see how it goes.
yeah, it's just like, Justin's history of this period, and we're just along for the ride. So, Justin, I don't know, man. Where do you want to start?
Let's do it. So yeah, 90s football, I always tell people when they ask me how I collect, my collecting sort of has 3 prongs, and that's I like cards that are rare, I like cards that are iconic, and I like cards that are nostalgic. And the 90s football really scratches the nostalgia itch for me because I started collecting in 89. I collected all sports, but, as I've said a million times on the channel, football has kind of been my primary. And, 90s football to me, especially, and I'm actually going to pick up in 94, and I'll explain why here in a second. But 90s football, especially some of those mid 90s sets, these are cards that when I see them online or when I see them at a show, it's like I go right back to my, front porch in Wademan, Michigan with the neighbor kids, kind of showing off these cards and, trying to get my parents to buy packs of the nice stuff. Because a lot of these cards I'm going to show today were cards that as a kid were, kind of untouchable for me. So it's cool to, now be an adult and be able to own some of them. But as far as where to start, 94 is a good spot. So I know you guys are both 90s basketball collectors, especially Will. I know you have a soft spot for those. So
hmm
you'll be familiar with the fact that when I talk about like 93 for 90s basketball, that's a big year because that's where you have the first refractors coming out, right? Topps Finest,
Yeah.
that 93 Jordan with him dunking and hanging on the rim. I mean, that's like, an extremely iconic card. Even though I don't do 90s basketball, that's an iconic card throughout the hobby. 94 is that functional equivalent for football. And you'll kind of, see it's very equivalent actually in that Topps Finest puts out the first refractor set that year. So 90, 91, 92, 93, I mean, there's a couple sets of note in there, like 90 score supplemental as the Emmitt Smith rookie card that people know, so there's some stuff out there, but the whole kind of, development of creativity, developing refractors, developing some of the, unique inserts, that really picks up in 94. And it picks up in 94 primarily with Topps Finest. And what we have here is When do I get a cup?
We'll
So
get
if,
we'll
How
get
many
you on there.
episodes do you have to be on to get a cup?
for listeners, Will and I just toasted our global car collectors coffee mugs to each
There
other.
you go.
Gus was jealous.
Yeah. And now Justin feels left out. All I have is like an old blue Contigo here. So, but
10 episodes. 10 episodes.
10 episodes?
Yeah.
Man, I got to be about halfway there. I'm going to go back and count how many it's been because it's been at least, I feel like
It's
at
at least
least
five.
Five.
At least five.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but 94. So there's obviously a base set of 94 Finest, and Finest is not the only set in 94. I'm actually going to show another one that I like as well. But Finest is the big set in 94, and the reason is we got our first refractors. Now I have a couple of these. The big one I want from there is Barry Sanders. I do not own it because it is a very, very expensive card, but I do own a couple. I have this Bruce Smith and a PSA 8, and Bruce Smith, legendary defensive end for the Buffalo Bills. If you watch football in the 90s, I mean, Bruce Smith, I think, was Defensive Player of the Year in 90. Huge presence on those Bills teams. They couldn't quite get over the hump for a Super Bowl, but made 4 in a row. Never won one. But just that Bruce Smith, I mean, defensive players are particularly, they're not very expensive in the hobby. That Bruce Smith's going to run you about $40, $45 in an 8 for the refractor. The Barry Sanders that I really want, by the way, the reason I don't own it yet is it's going to go about probably 400-ish or up in an 8. So it's one that I will probably pick up at some point, but I'm waiting for kind of right place, right time. Another 94 I have is Junior Seau. I'm a big defensive player collector. Will, you'll remember that from episodes I've been on with vintage football. It's no different with 90s stuff. And especially I played linebacker in high school and into college. So, guys like Junior Seau, and I'll talk about another guy here when we get to 95, but they hold a special place for me. So, I mean, this one's actually cheaper than the Bruce Smith. The Seau was a great deal. I think I got that one for $25 for the refractor and an 8. But I like this 94 Finest set, though I'm going to say something probably controversial here in a few minutes that some 90s football collectors are going to start throwing tomatoes in the screen. But I want to make clear first, I do like this set. It's a good set. I like the design, and it's significant, right? Anytime you have the first of something in hobby history, it's significant. So the fact that this is the first year we have the refractor technology, and right, that's kind of continued throughout to the present time. I imagine once licensing goes back to Fanatics, we're going to see those, top Chrome's refractors, maybe Bowman Chrome refractors become more iconic again. But in the meantime, right, what's a silver prism? Like Panini Silver Prism is what? It's a refractor functionally. So the point is, and this is, and I think you guys had a great episode where you had a guest take everybody through Topps Chrome basketball. And
amazing.
They'd also referenced kind of that, first refractor set as a precursor to Topps Chrome, that first 93 basketball refractor set. And there's a reason that people always go back to that in 90s collecting, because it started a trend that, still really continues and is still a huge part of collecting in the hobby now. There was another set in 94. It's not as popular, there were a few others, but there was another one that I really like. And this was a Bowman's Best set. And Bowman's Best in 94 also did refractors. So it wasn't just Topps Finest actually for football. It was Topps Finest and Bowman's Best did refractors in 95. Topps Finest just did them much better. In 94, Topps Finest just did them better. And I think that set came out a bit earlier. So Topps Finest was technically the first. I don't generally love 94 Bowman's Best design. It's okay. But I do like this card. This is it's a refractor, black refractor of Barry Sanders and Marshall Faulk. And I like it because obviously it's Barry Sanders, who, as you're going to see, is my all-time favorite player. And I've got a lot of Barry to show off here today. But this is also
Lions fan. Yeah.
So yeah, huge Lions fan. So I do have this one from that set, but I think the Finest design, right? If you take a look at this, it's not bad, but if you look at the Finest design, I feel like it's a little bit more clean, maybe a little bit more unique. So that set gets a little more love in 95 or 94, and rightfully so. But you have two sets essentially kind of putting refractors out there that year.
So I have one card that I bought a couple weeks ago for 30 cents or 38 cents or something on comps.
You told me about this one.
Yeah, this is
There you go.
Steve Young Hot Numbers, Fleer Ultra Hot Numbers 1994.
There you go.
I'm really excited to see this one. I mean, this is, I think, the overarching theme, and I know we're going to sound like stacking slabs. Do you listen to them, Justin?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. And they're I mean, they're not pumping, they love it though. I mean, they're pumping 90s football for sure. But I mean it's kind of like 30 cents for this. It's crazy. It's like
Yeah.
awesome. Like yeah.
Yeah. And that's
Do you want
exactly
to tell
it.
us a little bit about Steve Young there, John?
Oh, Steve Young. I mean,
Yes.
he
Yeah,
said
go
so.
on.
I mean, Montana was the GOAT, and the consensus is that it's Brady. I mean, Montana won 4 Super Bowls. Different era. Like Brady's numbers just obliterate Montana's, and he has more Super Bowls. What does he have? 7?
7.
Yeah, I mean I mean Montana never lost Super Bowl. Anyway, it's Brady. Fine, I concede. But Steve Young was always kind of, when did he get drafted? Like late, like 80s.
84. 84.
Started with the Bucks, but then got to the Niners behind, and he was behind Montana for years, basically. Right?
Yeah, he was. I mean, because he took over as a starter. What was it? 93. I want to say. Was it
Yeah.
92 or 93? It was one
I
of the
mean,
two.
92, 90. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he led them to a Super Bowl, but he was like this great backup quarterback, always kind of sitting there. So, Montana's card offerings being in the 80s are not as interesting. I mean, they're
Yeah.
great cards later, if you want upper deck or whatever kind of post playing day stuff or whatever. But yeah, Steve Young's a good guy in the 90s, I think. Not a
He's a Hall of
huge,
Famer. I mean,
yeah.
he was a great player in his own right, and he was one of those, kind of early scrambling quarterbacks. I mean, the dude doesn't look athletic when you look at him, but he could move. So yeah, I loved watching Steve Young as a kid. He was a great player.
So 95 we moved to, huh?
95 we moved to, and I do just want to say we're showing today, kind of the highlights are looking at some of the, bigger 90s cards, some of the big developments, big sets, refractors, inserts, talking about that. But like John and Will said, if you want a base card, a non-refractor of really anybody from that 94 finest set, I mean, you can get it raw for $5 at most. And that's if we're talking like Jerry Rice or Barry Sanders or something on ComC. So, there are some really cheap, cool cards to be had from 90s football.
Can I jump in there for a second with cheap 90s cards? I
Yeah,
have
absolutely.
really old pack of Upper Deck.
Here we go.
They're not the chromes, which is what we want. We want the Topps chrome or Topps finest. But I just want to do another little pack opening. It was a lot of fun last time. You guys are going to know all of the players. I'm just going to be like, oh, I've got a 49ers guy in the back.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, I'm leaving him for last.
What do we got?
So, this is the understudy. Is this Steve Young?
I have no idea who that is.
No, it's David Barr from the Eagles.
Never heard of him.
It was a
With all respect to David Barr, I have never heard of him.
Understudy. Well, at least he studied, but didn't make it. I've got Sherman Williams for the Cowboys.
He was good at Alabama in college. I remember that.
I like how all of the 90s cards, you don't know which way up they're going to be. But these are exactly the same as the 95 Upper Deck base cards too, with the player's name in gold, the team's name underneath, and Upper Deck in gold in the corner there, and just a full bleed photo too, This is Andre Coleman.
Boy, they put some guys in there that didn't make much of a mark.
That's right. Leonard Russell.
Oof.
And again, like the basketball Upper Deck cards,
I like the
players
design,
being
though.
traded, you can see. Yeah, it's great. The full bleed's beautiful. Really, very nice. Ray Buchanan.
I've heard of him at least, yeah.
Okay. Bam Morris.
There you go. Bam Morris. He was one of those 90s backs that, that he was like 6'2", 275. So, yeah.
He looks massive.
Yeah.
Steelers.
It's a great picture of him, too. But, yeah. Yeah. A prelude to Bam Adebayo. Oh, we've got a backwards card, but it's not what you think. Chris Slade.
Hey, again, someone I've heard of.
Chester McLaughlin.
Boy, at least the back end there have been guys I've heard of, but yeah, no Hall of Famers or anything like that floating around.
Don't worry, we've got one coming up at the end. Leroy Horde.
Same category. I remember watching.
I've heard of Leroy.
Who do we got?
This one is Ronnie Harmon.
There you go. He was on a Super Bowl team for the Chargers.
What is it?
No.
I've
Who
got
is
a
it?
hologram card.
Oh, sweet.
1995 Pro Bowl. Look,
Hey, that's actually cool.
it's so that's very cool. Look, it's a hologram card. You can only see it in the lighting, but
Oh,
it's going to
that's
be.
awesome.
Interesting.
I think these ones might have like a film that you have to take it off, but I'm going to have to look at that a bit later. But here's the big one at the back.
What do we got?
John,
Oh, there
Yes.
you go.
recognize that
Yes.
guy?
John's heard of that guy.
Yeah, there he is, Mr. Jerry Rice.
Greatest
That's
football
awesome.
player of
Even
all
I know who
time,
that guy
right
is.
there.
That's a great card of his too.
I
Holding
want
up
I
the
want to
number one with
argue
his
with you and
finger.
say Barry Sanders, but it's a hard to argue against Jerry Rice, man. He was so good. I wasn't even a Niners fan, and I owned a Jerry Rice jersey, so that tells you how good he was and how respected he was in
Yeah, wow.
anybody who watched football that period.
I mean, his numbers are insane, and
Ridiculous.
this is before the passing era. Like
Right.
it's insane. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Not bad, Will. Not bad.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. This weird hologram card, I'm gonna have to
That's
inspect it on
fun.
further. Like you can't really see it, but it's just odd. It's like, whoa.
Well, happy
Good.
to trade if there's anything you like.
Sure.
All right. So
I guess
on the topic, those were 95s, right? So now that's a good segue.
They're 95.
We are at
They're 95 cards, yeah.
So 95, we don't really have any. It's kind of sandwiched in between the first refractors and then, another first I'll talk about in 96. But like I said, I'm going to say something a little bit controversial, and I'll show it here in a minute, explain why. I like the 95 finest refractor set better than 94. I like the design better. They can be had much more cheaply as well. So it's kind of advantageous for me that I do enjoy that set quite a bit. Again, I like the 94s. They're significant, but when you just talk about design, right? I'll show a guy first that John really likes. I think, John, you might even have this card raw. We got Dion. We got one. There we go. We got one of John's
I
Niners
got
guys.
it. I got it. I sent it to ComC. Yeah.
That's sweet. Yeah, we got the refractor. This is in a PSA 8. I think I got it for 45, 50, something like that. And this card, so
Deion Sanders, by the way, for listeners.
Yeah, we got prime
Any
time.
thoughts on any thoughts on prime time right now? I'm kind of getting us a little bit off topic, but like obviously his son.
He's relevant.
Yeah.
I think he's doing a good job at Colorado, man. I think, is there some extra stuff that people can either love or hate? Sure. But if you look at the team he took over and how bad they were and how he's turned them into a respectable program in a matter of just a couple of years, I feel like if a less controversial coach was doing that, they would be getting credit as a program builder and all this. But because he carries himself a certain way, he always has. People either loved him or hated him. Still, I think do. But you know what? Like he's made Colorado a respectable college football program, and they haven't been since I was a kid. I mean, they were good when I was little, but I mean, like before this, maybe like I want to say like 2001 was the last time they were even quasi-relevant, something like that. So I don't know. I think you got to give him credit. And as a player, if we go back to his playing days, I don't think there's ever been a better pure cover corner in the history of the NFL, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he was on that Steve Young Super Bowl winning team. He was a one and done, I think, right? And I mean,
yes, correct.
And we won that year. We were just awesome. But it was
you guys were so good.
Yeah, it was like a stacked team, ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, and that's what's cool about this one too, is it's the only year of Dion in a Niners uniform. So for somebody like John, who's a Niners fan, it's like, I feel like this is a must-have card. And I just love his stance in this one. This is one of my favorite Dion cards, to be perfectly honest. I love this card, which is, why I picked it up. I just love the card. Got some more 95s here from the finest set. And, this is where we're going to get to my guy for the first time, Barry. I love this Barry Sanders card. And another thing I love about 95, right? I don't know if you can see it on here, but it was the 75th anniversary of the NFL. So all the players for the season wore these 75th anniversary patches, and those are captured on the cards. So I think that's another kind of really cool piece of history there. So, yeah, I think that's another thing I love about 95. But this design is just cool. Like I love the lightning bolts. It just has a lot more going on than the 94 set, which to some people, maybe that's a con, but I'm personally a big fan.
I'll also
very
show
90s, so 90s.
This is 90. Yeah. This is it's not showing up very well, but 1995. This is just flare hot numbers, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this was also, I think, 36 cents. Yeah. Steve Young,
Wow.
like,
You can't
man.
beat that. Hall of Famer for 36 cents.
Yeah. And a cool looking,
And it's a
I
good
haven't seen
looking
it.
card.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so within that same finest 95 finest set, there was also a subset called the Boosters series, Boosters insert. So it's the same design, but it's a different picture of the player. Because Barry's my guy, I had to get the boosters too.
That's a great
And for
looking
each
card,
player, it's a little
man.
bit different. Like Jerry Rice has a base and a boosters. Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Dan Marino, all those guys have a base and a boosters. This is the only boosters one I have because it's Barry, and I had to have both of them. So, both of those Barry cards, the refractors are going to run you close to about 150 in eights. So he's a little more expensive. The Dion, I think, was about, like I said, 45, 50. I picked it up for an 8. But Barry Sanders tends to be the most expensive player in any 90s set. And the reason why, I think, is that there's no one else for 90s fans to collect in the 90s, really. Lions fans, we have other guys that we like you. I'll show you a guy at the end, that I have a 99 card of that I like. We had a couple guys, Chris Spielman, Herman Moore, that were kind of local legends, so to speak, and pretty darn good players. But it's not like the 49ers where you had Steve Young and Jerry Rice, right? So, or historically even, how many great Lions players do we really have in the modern era?
I mean,
Not many.
the receiver was awesome.
Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, but that's all that comes to mind. I mean, Stafford
Right.
maybe comes to mind, but
But
Will,
yeah,
I
but
mean, just
Calvin
what I
Johnson's
remember.
expensive too. Yeah,
Yeah,
Calvin and Barry are both expensive for that same reason, because where you have Lions collectors, all of us tend to collect Barry and Calvin, so their cards tend to be a little bit pricey,
I mean,
unfortunately.
Will, I liken Barry. Barry was better than this player in NBA, but his flash potential and like just his explosive plays, and like everyone loved Barry. It's kind of like Jason Williams in terms of the flash in
Mm.
basketball. Like, just, I
Oh
mean,
wow.
how could you not be
Wow.
amazed by this guy? I mean, he was small and he was just like juking out like all these big linebackers and D line, and it's just like, oh my God. I mean, I loved him. So yeah.
So what Barry Sanders did is, for anybody out there who doesn't know football, if you're at the running back position, what you're always taught is run straight ahead, run forward, get the yards you can, run forward, just make a move when you have to, but keep going forward. Barry Sanders basically did everything running backs coaches would tell you not to do. He juked, he ran backwards, he ran around side to side. And there has never been a running back in NFL history that did what he did and had the success that he did. It was like,
Wow.
it's funny because we all have a mutual friend named Paul, who I was talking to Barry Sanders about Barry Sanders once. And he says, I don't think anyone else can do what Barry did again. And he paused for a minute. He goes, in fact, I don't even think I believe that Barry did what he did. Because it's that incredible, because it's so unique the way that he was able to get it done. But yeah, he was flashy and he was fun, and he was one of the few things Lions fans have to be proud of over time. So that's why we all collect him.
All right, you guys are coming back next year. Come on.
I hope so. But I think we need a little bit better quarterback play in the playoffs next year and a healthy defense. But we'll see. I mean, the pieces are in place. We just got to get it done in the playoffs a little bit better.
Justin, can you do me a wee favor? Can you hold
Yeah.
up the 94 card and the 95 cards just side by
Yes, I
side, just so
can.
we can see the difference between them? Because
Sure. You got the Barry and the Sayal right there.
bragged about them, and I think I've got to agree with you. I think I like the design of the 95 just better. I love the lightning bolt thing too. I do like the way that the 94 kind of has your bordering really well too. But for mine, the lightning bolts is so 90s, man. It looks great. It does
Exactly. And
look
I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's quintessential 90s. It's flashy. It's over the top. But it's
hmm
fun. I feel like that's one thing about 90s cards. They're fun. And I don't know if that's just me associating that era with a fun time in my life when I was a kid. And, obviously you're carefree. You're just, living it up. But I don't know if it's that, or it's just, but to me, the designs of 90s cards really do they're just a lot of fun. And I think
Just
that 95
And
is big.
and
go ahead, Will.
and I think the over the top element feels like it's also connected to Chrome as well. It's like if it's going to be
Yeah.
Chrome, you gotta go all in with it, and they do, and it's great.
I mean, the color match with that light blue must be
Yeah. It's a great looking card,
sick.
isn't it?
Yeah, for Barry
Yeah, it's
in
pretty.
'95. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean does it look as good as I'm? It's hard to see in the screen.
Yeah, we can try to get it up there, but yeah, I know it's not the best, but yes, it does look as good as you think it does. I actually like so I don't know. This is actually one where I think I like the insert a little bit better. I just like
Yes.
his
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of
Me too.
his pose there. I don't know what it is. I like the boosters a little bit better here. Both are great cards. Both are never leaving my PC, but I think I like the booster shot a little better. Um, so the 95 Finest had some pretty good rookies in it too. My favorite personally is a guy named Derek Brooks. He was a linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Hall of Famer, one of the best outside linebackers to ever play. And like I said, I like defensive player cards. I like linebackers. This card is surprisingly tough to track down. There aren't a ton of these graded. I think the pop is like 50 or 60 in PSA grades. So it took me a while to track this one down because it was definitely one I wanted. But you can see the design here. If I hold up the berry, you can see it's
Right.
a little different in terms of the design for the rookies.
Hmm.
Um, no lightning bolts. It's more like fireworks going off in the background. A little
Very
bit
cool.
different, but I think it's cool. I really, really, really like this card. And again, Derek Brooks is one of my guys. I mean, if you don't know who he is, that's more than understandable. But his career, I mean, a top 100 player of all time. And probably for me, literally, I mean, he's got to be a top two or three outside linebacker ever to play.
What's funny is
Will,
that I immediately
yeah.
when you pulled up his picture, I look at that card and I think, what about Marion Motley? Just comparing those two, because so how different
Mm,
they are over years' time. But the two players just look like these giants of men who like, oh, I would not
yeah.
want to get in a room against those guys. But the complete contrast with vintage versus 90s is just
Yeah.
huge. And that's what I think what makes the 90s so special is this over the top, just really dramatic, bright colors, massive contrast. They're really cool cards.
But I think the common thread there is with all respect to ultra modern cards, I don't get a sense of artisticness in cards today. I mean, there's some good
Mm.
looking cards,
Yeah.
but I feel like with vintage cards, particularly if you go back to like the 40s, 50s, you really see these cards as pieces of art. There's a lot of artistic thought put into them. I feel like the 90s is that way too, at least kind of the mid to
Yes.
late 90s. I feel like there's a lot of artistic thought put into the card design. And I feel like that's kind of what links it up for me a little bit is I like, to think of cards as pieces of art. And the 90s are another time when I think I can easily do that in addition to vintage. I mean, they're different types of art, 100%, but
Hmm.
both of them have kind of creative flair to them that I enjoy.
I mean, you
Completely
you
agree.
you
I
said
mean,
what it was
the
it was
gotcha.
rarity, nostalgia, and aesthetics, right?
Iconic. Rarity,
Iconic.
nostalgia, and iconic. And baked within that, I think, is like obviously I want the cards to look good. Um, but I do chase some cards that I don't think are necessarily as beautiful because I find them to be, in one of those three areas.
Yeah, like
Um,
I was listening to Christina Thornton on, she works for Card Ladder, Chris Hoge's
mm,
wife. She was on Stacking Slabs like a couple days ago. And her number one is aesthetics. Like
that's
uh
fair.
and it was an interesting perspective because it was like if I like it aesthetically, then and I feel like with 90s cards, I'm feeling that vibe. Like it's really
Yeah.
they can really just they're so beautiful, right?
Yeah. And aesthetics matter to me, don't get me wrong, but I do find that, if a card is scarce or if a card is iconic, I don't love necessarily the design of every card that I own, but some of them I still love nonetheless because of what they mean to the hobby or, what they mean to me personally or something like that. But I think aesthetics really matter. Like when I'm determining my favorite sets, for example, why do I like 95 Finest better than 94? Because 95 looks better to me. I like the look of it better. So it definitely
And
plays
I think
into ranking things.
there's something about that to be said with the 90s as well, because if you look around and you learn about what the 90s cards are like, it really peaked, and we're kind of, I guess, we're giving a couple of spoilers, but not really, around the PMGs time. And if you
Mm,
look at who they hired to design those cards, like they were artists, and it's like, why can't we spend the time and money to get these guys to design cards today? Because that would be incredible. Like I showed John some 90s base PMGs, and you can just see the amazingness of the design, like the Jordan and the Kobe in those.
yeah,
And you'll talk about the football versions of those later on. But for mine, I think you're going to get there, and I might be wrong. But it starts building to this crescendo, and for mine, it's 98 where it peaks absolutely, and you get these incredible 90s cards, which I just think are awesome.
yeah. Yeah, I think the 97, 98, era is we're going to talk about that, yeah, because it's around that same time for football, because obviously we're going to get to PMGs, essentials, credentials, and all that
Yeah.
stuff in 97. But just one more word on 95, because I actually love the Bowman's
Go on.
Best set from that year too, and I got a couple from that set. I got the Barry Sanders, because of course I have the Barry Sanders. That's his
Of
black
course.
refractor. Now the rookies from that set were blue. The veterans were black. The rookies were blue, and this is Warren Sapp. Um, I
Okay.
I mean, I think I got
Yes.
that for like $30. Warren Sapp was a character. He was a defensive tackle for the Bucks, and he was just a funny guy. He had a real big, outgoing personality. Went to University of Miami and was a legend there in college, and then played for the Bucks. He was an All Pro for I don't even know how many years.
Was he on
6 or 7 All Pro
was
games.
he on their Super Bowl winning team?
Yeah, him and Derek Brooks both were. They were both in the same 95 sets, but Sapp does not have a card in the 95 finest set. His rookie is in the 95. He has other rookies too, but his rookie, the refractor rookie, is in the 95 Bowman's Best set. So, but I like this card too. This is a year where I like the finest and I like the Bowman's Best, so I have some cards from each in my collection.
Justin, you've shown two Bucks cards. Now you live in Tampa. Is this a coincidence? What's going on here?
100% coincidence. I owned both of these cards well before I'd ever put on my radar that I was going to be living in
But
Tampa.
in
It's just
your wife is from that area, or
from Orlando. So yeah, so we moved up to Chicago. We got married in 2019 because I went to graduate school at University of Florida, and that's where we met.
okay?
So I got a job in Chicago late 2018, and we moved up together in 2019 after we got married. And we moved up to Chicago, and it was like during the polar vortex where it was like -60 or something, or I mean that might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but the funny thing with her is she likes the cold, she likes the snow. What she couldn't get over in Chicago was the dreariness, the lack of sunshine. So eventually, I think that and some other things got to her, and her parents are still down here and everything. So she'd been wanting to get back to Florida for a while, and ended up where we finally got an opportunity to do so. So here we are. We've been in Tampa since last July.
Are you show? I just you are showing these cards off to her, right? And getting some credit there, right?
I can show her cards, but her interest, I could show her any card and the reaction would be the same. I'm glad you're happy. That's nice. I'm glad you're happy. Hey, and to her credit, she
My wife is
tolerates this
the
hobby
same.
very, very well. Like right now, she's parenting the 2-year-old while I'm in here doing this. So she tolerates it. But does she have any interest in what I'm showing, regardless of the player? No,
I
no,
mean,
definitely not.
it's better than other things we could be doing.
That's what
I'm
yeah.
surprised. My wife does love the vintage stuff. Everything
My
else,
wife's
she's like,
no,
I
yeah,
don't
okay,
know
so
why you like cards. And then she saw the cigarette cards and she's like, that's really nice. I really like the artwork on that. And I'm like, yeah, it's
She's
100 years old. She's like,
she
well,
has that
maybe.
sensibility. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
she appreciates that the historical component of them. Like if I describe how old it is or something like that, but the actual card itself, not a whole lot of interest there, which is fine because it's fine to have hobbies because I like having my own little kind of world over here anyway. She has hers. She's very much into like interior design and things like that. And I probably know about as much about that as she does about cards. So it's nice to have our own worlds to escape into a little bit. And this is just
100%.
like you said, it's just a really good hobby for people at our point in life, right? You don't have to be super mobile to do it. It's easy to do in your free time. You can do it passively, just looking on your phone for cards on eBay, which is dangerous but fun nonetheless. So, but yeah, so yeah, I don't spend a whole lot of time showing her cards.
Cool. I mean, good job with the Tampa thing. That worked out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We like it here, so it's nice.
And you got the cards, of course.
And I got the cards, and
Yeah.
I've got the cards for it.
Yeah.
Two Tampa legends. Derek Brooks is still active in the community and stuff down here too. So him in particular, that's a good one to have in the Tampa area. So yeah, so 96 is a big year. I've been waiting to get to 96. I love one set in particular from 96, and that's Bowman's Best. And the reason I like 96, now there's other sets too. It's also, I want to mention, first year of Topps Chrome, though I somehow have, I think, 0 96 Topps Chrome cards. And I think in part that's due to the fact that when I go after a 96 card, I go after the Bowman's Best set. I'll show a couple cards in a second. I love the look of it. And the next year, 97 Topps Chrome is when I start to really like the design and everything. But But 96 Bowman's Best, probably the major deal there, is this is the first year. Can you kind of see it? I hope it comes through a little bit.
Oh
It's the
yeah,
first year we
that's
have,
real cool.
yeah, first year of atomic refractors, which are big cards for
Yeah,
the rest
very
of the decade, right? In
cool.
football and basketball. We got our
That's different to
atomic
the
refractor first.
basketball ones, though.
What's that?
I definitely recognize the 97's Bowman's Best. They have this one cut down the
Hmm.
right hand side of the card and it has the player's name there. This one's very different. It's like it feels like
Yeah,
it's almost two pictures in one.
yeah. The 96 Bowman Best in basketball and football, I do think are a bit aesthetically different. I have some 97
Hmm.
Bowman's Best to show here shortly too, just because I love that set as well. 96 and 97 Bowman's Best are two of my all-time favorite sets of the 90s, honestly. But this is the first year we have atomic refractors, and these are not cheap. I mean, Thurman Thomas was a great player, and that's why I have up here, a great player in the 90s for the Bills. He was the NFL, I think, MVP in maybe 91, 90 or 91, something like that. Another guy for those Bills teams. And I will say, I adopted the Bills as kind of my 90s team as a kid, or my AFC team in the 90s as a kid. And I still pull for the Bills in the AFC because the Lions are in one conference, the Bills in another. So my dream is the Lions Bills Super Bowl.
Yeah, and they were
So I'm
they were the saddest. I mean, not saddest, but most sympathy endearing teams in the 90s.
I'm attracted to sad franchises. That's the only way I can put it. Is I'm attracted to sad NFL franchises, I guess. So I
I got
like
the Kings
disappointing.
in basketball, so
I was gonna say, I
I
was
understand.
literally gonna say about, I was literally gonna say about John. Like John's got these two sides to him. He's got the Kings fandom, and then he's got the 49ers fandom. It's like, well, at least the Niners have won in the 90s. It's like,
Uh,
we've got Steve Young, we've got Joe Montana, we've got Jerry Rice, we've got Deion Sanders, and it's a very different version of John to when he talks about the Kings. Like,
I know,
we're plucky, we give it a go.
I know. I will say this for the Niners, like it's crazy in the last like 12, 13 years with us. Like we've gotten knocked out of like three semifinals for you, Will, and NFC Championship
Yep.
games. We've lost like three Super Bowls, knocked out in another round. Like, but we've been good. So it's
yeah,
Good,
but between
good.
that period and the 80s, 90s, it was a big kind of bad period. So anyway, I don't know.
I,
At the
I
end of the
like I
day,
like
what
the
Joe
Niners
Montana
for
did.
Purdy. I think he's great.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I was gonna make a joke and show like my
There you go.
there's a 90s card. Oh, no, wait, this is 22 optic. Uh, yeah, I got my three 49ers cards here. Yeah, anyway, I have nothing to complain for at the end of the day as an Irish fan because it was so awesome as a kid. Like that's just irreplaceable. So they can
Yeah.
suck forever. I know the odds 32 teams, you just don't win. So anyway, sorry for the
I just want one for the Lions, just one someday, one
I'm
Super
pulling for
Bowl,
you, man.
I was
just
too,
one.
man. Last year I really was like, man, I hope they go all the way this time around. And you get just one bad game. That's
Yeah,
that's
just
the downside of football. You're like, man, it comes down
right.
to one bad day, and then a guy could turn an ankle in the game and it's all over, man. Like it's
It's
rough.
been a tough playoff year for Detroit sports because the Pistons lost that brutal series.
Ooh,
We're not going
ooh.
there because
Yeah, but
that was.
you
Oh,
guys acquitted yourself well. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know.
I think the future's bright for the Pistons. So
I
Cade's a
picked the
star
Pistons to win
now.
that
So
series, and then I felt like they did, except they just didn't win on the scoreboard because they were the better team
well,
for
we just
so
couldn't win in
many
the
of
final
them.
2 minutes of any game.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like
Rough.
Rockets Warriors a bit. Like, the Rockets are winning the games, but I mean, in both cases, like the younger team is actually better, or
Yeah.
something. Yeah. Anyway,
So, but yeah. So, um, yeah, I guess I do have a lot of these Bowman's Best cards in terms of atomic refractors. In that set, there was a Bowman's Best Bets insert, and I got a atomic refractor there of a guy named Eddie George, who was a Heisman Trophy winner at Ohio State. So my odd college sports fandom, right? I got the Ohio State National Championship shirt on and the Florida Gators National Championship hat. Ohio State football, Gator basketball. I think I explained that on the last episode with Will, how I
That's
got
right.
there. But Eddie George was one of my guys as a kid. So this is his rookie year. Atomic refractor. This was $26 in an SGC 8.5. So it's one of the rare kind of cheap atomic refractors you're going to pick up from that set. And I
So
do this is the
Justin,
only,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, to interrupt, mate.
No, no.
Can you explain the difference? And it is kind of like a question that I think I already understand, but I just want to be sure. What's the difference between a base card, a refractor, and an atomic refractor?
So I
because
can
I
actually
think I know
show
it from the
that.
look, but I want to confirm. Yeah.
So I can show that here in a progression. I got 396
Oh,
Bowman's best
amazing.
card, so I can show it here. This is the
Oh,
only
great.
base card I
Perfect.
have out here, and it's from the 96 Bowman's best set, and that's the Ray Lewis rookie. Why do I
Oh,
only have this in a base card? Because to get this in a 9 and a non-atomic refractor, it's going to be I think about 1,000, maybe 1,500. To get an atomic refractor, I've seen them go for $7,000, $8,000.
For
Um,
for for a mur for a murderer, really interesting.
I mean, Ray Lewis, man, he is one of the most popular defensive players in the hobby. I will tell you that 100%.
wow.
America.
So
All right, let's go.
I don't know what I don't know what the timestamp is, but I don't know if we had an over under on John's first political comment. But this is
Here it
this is the
comes.
time. You should start taking
That's
bets on
great.
that.
That's
But
great.
yeah, so if you would like to spend $7,000 on a guy from America's Most Wanted, the Atomic Refractor is the way to do it. But um, but I got the base card here because that's what I can afford of Ray Lewis in that set. So I got another guy here. Folks might be familiar with his son if you're watching football now. This is Marvin Harrison, and he was a Hall of Fame receiver in his own right with the Colts. And you can see with the refractor, right, just how the light kind of shines. You get some colors in the background here.
Mhm.
A little bit. I know it's not the best on the camera, but you can see how the colors kind of refract in the background a bit there. You don't get that with the base card, right? It's just a lot more, nothing, no color, just a lot more straightforward chromium card. Now the atomic refractor, you get all sorts of almost like a video game effect with the kind of like shiny dots and lines going through it as you move it around a little bit.
Mhm.
So that's the atomic refractor technology.
It always feels
So
like those atomic refractors have those. It's almost like they have lines down them with
yeah,
lights, and then
lines down
there's
the middle, but also
some
kind of
high
like little
points.
squares that pop up on the sides a little bit here as well.
Yes,
So
yes,
but yeah,
yes.
it's
Hmm.
the atomic refractors. I think to me that's kind of the pinnacle. That's the pinnacle of 90s cards for me. I love, love, love the atomic refractors. They're not cheap, but where I can pick them up with players I like, I try to do so because I think they're really, really cool. I feel like a dork because I'll sit there in the light just like fooling around with them like this to actually see the lines
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah. Of
So,
course, you do.
um, but yeah,
What like
So in terms of, sorry, John, you go.
atomic refractor of 96? How many copies are those? Are
so
known
Same
to
question.
exist?
yeah, the odds are something like one in every. I can't remember. I actually just looked this up. It's like 200 and some packs. Because the atomic refractors are fairly scarce. So I don't know regular refractors, what those odds are.
Atomics, I'm curious because if they're paying like you said, it's 7 or 8 grand for Ray Lewis.
For Ray Lewis, yeah, because that's a
That's
rookie year though. That's why that one goes for so much.
okay.
But even like the Barry Sanders, which is obviously a non-rookie, his atomic refractor in a 9 is going to go in the thousands for that. So
But again,
so
you're looking
yeah.
at like 1 in 6 or 7 boxes that you're going to be getting an atomic refractor card,
And it's
you
different
can
because
get it
there's
of
some
an
atomic
unknown player.
and there's some atomic refractors. There's one I'm actually going to show shortly that they never release pack odds on, and I've seen guesses, but for whatever reason, and I don't know what the reason is, there's not pack odds out there on it.
I mean
But the 96,
the total PSA pop of the Lewis is 62.
yeah,
Oh
that feels
wow!
about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I knew it was some 100.
7,800 was the last sale.
And how many in a
Yeah,
9?
In a 9, lost it. 27.
see, that's another thing is these are tough grades. You're not going to find them in a 10 almost ever. I think 8s are good grades for these. If you get a 9 in an atomic refractor, to me, that's going to be a very pricey card. I'm good with 8s in atomic refractors because the surface issues cause those to grade tough sometimes.
Well, I don't think you should care about grade. I mean, just having one when there's 62 of them.
Well, yeah, for the Ray Lewis,
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah,
Yeah, just
and there are 2010s actually, it says. So
wow.
yeah,
Wow.
That's higher
sorry
than I would
to,
have expected, honestly.
yeah. Just get one. Who gives a shit the grade? Yeah.
Man, even in an 8, those things are going to be three grand, 4
I'm
grand.
sure. I'm
Wow.
sure.
So yeah, so I don't know that I will ever own that. if I'm going to spend 3 or 4 grand on a card, quite honestly, that's not where I'm going. 90s football is not where I'm going to go for that. If I'm throwing up that much money, it's probably going to be, quite honestly, like a rare Jack Johnson card or maybe,
Yeah.
something like that. But I mean, it's a cool, if that's your direction, it's a cool card, but out of my price range for sure. But that's kind of the big card from 96. And like I said, 96, also the first year of Topps Chrome. I don't own any 96 Topps Chrome because quite honestly, when I go after cards from 96, I go after this Bowman's Best set. I love 96 Bowman's Best. And that's where I have, and also Zach Thomas was another big rookie in that year. It was a good year for rookies. And if you like defensive players, you have Ray Lewis and Zach Thomas, who are 2 all-time Hall of Fame linebackers. And yes, so both of them have cards in the. Ray Lewis doesn't have a Topps Chrome card that year, by the way. So his big. That's another reason his Bowman's Best is so expensive. Because even in a 9, I mean, just a base card of that in a 9 is like $75-$80, which is astronomical for a 90s base card of a defensive player. So
yeah, wow. I think on top of that, like we talked about this when we were doing our boxing episode, Justin, and you're talking about just ultra rare cards, and John brings up that point perfectly. It's like it doesn't matter what grade it's in right now.
Yeah.
They're so hard to find that only having a population of 62, you got to go for it. You know what I mean? So those sorts of cards, you understand why people pay that kind of money, because there's this actual rarity. It's not like this production line rarity when they've already given them, a number to 100, but then you can find 30 sets out there that are numbered to 100 too. Well, there's only 62 cards in the PSA population of this specific one. It's great.
Yeah, and to be clear, when I talk about going for 8s or 9s in atomic refractors, I'm not talking about that Ray Lewis card. I'm saying generally that's kind of what I look for. The Ray Lewis, if I could find one in a 6 that was sub 1,000, I would consider it. Just to own that card. But you're right, Will. We talk about this all the time that, there's certain cards where if it's really up there on your want list and you see one that's in your budget, like you just got to get it regardless. This is way off topic, but I picked up an extremely rare, I think Pop 13 John L. Sullivan card the other day. Nice. It popped up in one of my boxing groups. Yeah, it's an 1888 Duke Cigarettes card. And it's like, I didn't spend much time negotiating and haggling price. And that's actually how I got it, by the way. I came in with a strong offer and the seller told me, he's like, I'm accepting your offer. One other guy came in with a low ball and I countered and, he disappeared for like the guy didn't get back to him for like 10 minutes. And in that 10 minutes, I came in with a strong offer. So I got the card. So you gotta, whether it's a Ray Lewis atomic refractor or whether it's, a John L. Sullivan, 1888 Duke Cigarettes card. If it's rare, you just want to own one, right? If that's your thing.
Or a Jonah Lomu Weepex card. Yeah,
there you go. Exactly.
I get it. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And congrats on that. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'll send you guys a picture in our chat when it comes in. I'm pretty pumped about it. So I said no more big purchases before the National, but
oops.
It's a Pop 13. What are you gonna do? Like it's like you gotta grab it. So
I understand.
I had my wife count it as my birthday present. So that's
I did that on a card recently. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my birthday present. Yeah.
Hey, that's what I want, and I couldn't think of a better birthday present. At the risk of
John a really great birthday present, by the way.
Oh,
John a great birthday present.
We got it here.
Let's see it. Let's see it.
Go. Look at this. Look at this guy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Let's go. That's sweet. That's
it's
awesome.
7. Jonah Lomu, Dynamic Marketing, 1995 rookie card.
I feel left out here. I don't have a coffee mug. I'm not getting birthday presents. I don't know how I feel about this.
Yeah, I mean, you got to move to Istanbul to get
That's true. At the risk of steering us back on topic, let's go to which I'm never the one who does. So this is.
I mean, Justin, you're supposed to go in 13 minutes. I mean,
no.
We make 2 parts, or we good? Yeah,
we're good. We're good.
Okay.
In reality, I'll we can wrap up in a half hour ish, maybe. So maybe. Yeah. Well, but now we go into 97, and we got to spend some time on 97 because that's where we have 2 of the kind of biggest inserts of the 90s in any sport. If you collect 90s baseball, basketball, football, Essentials credentials and PMGs.
Yes.
Essentials credentials were Skybox EX. Until 2000, right? Then they switched over to Fleer. Fleer bought out Skybox or something to that effect. Mm-hmm. But throughout the 90s, they were produced by Skybox. And I do not have any Skybox Essential Credentials cards because they are,
Who
I
does,
mean,
mate? Who does?
they're going to be four figures for a PSA 5 of a, fringe Hall of Famer, right? So I do not have any Essentials credentials. And if I don't have any Essentials credentials, I definitely don't have any PMGs. PMGs are probably the gold standard for 90s inserts. And I'll be honest, this will be another controversial opinion. I've never found myself looking at the Essentials credentials and being like, I really want that card. I really just love the look of it. They're fine, but the PMGs though, I mean, one of my, probably if I could have any 90s card, it would be the Barry Sanders green PMG from 1997.
Yeah.
Don't know when I'll ever get, $18,000 to buy one in a PSA 6, but that will permanently be out of my price range. But my God, those are cool cards. I mean, if I remember right, there's from that 97 set, the first 15 are green and the next 135 are red. So there's only 15.
It's different to basketball then.
Yeah, I think it's 150 total, and I think the first 15. And I got this. My information came from a website from a guy who does a YouTube channel as well. Have you heard of Splendid Sports? A guy named Adam. Yeah, so Adam does a lot of vintage, but he does a lot of stuff with 90s too. And he actually writes kind of like an online articles about this stuff. And he wrote one on PMGs. And that's where I got my information that it was 15 green and then the next 135 red. So I mean, just trying to snag any sort of PMG. Now, the one thing I will say for football that I don't love. Oh, do you have one?
No, I don't. But geez, there we go. This ended on auction a few days ago.
What did it end at?
4,100.
We were talking about this one on
2,100, and that's a 6, if I remember right.
6 for a Steve Young red out of 150 PMG. Yeah. I mean, I was curious.
Yeah, and that's 2,100 for that.
4,100.
41? Holy cow! Yeah. So this you can see why these are just out of my price range. I'm never going to, because the Barry Sanders would, I can guarantee you, be triple that minimum. So yeah, I'm not going to own that, but my gosh, they are such cool cards. The only thing I'll say I don't like about, and I don't know if this is true about basketball or not, you guys would have to tell me. Football for the PMG sets in 97 and 98, the rookies are actually in their college uniforms. Still cool cards, still valuable cards, but like, for example, this is really relevant in 98 where I would otherwise maybe want to pick up some of these PMGs because you have the 98 rookie class that I'm going to talk about in a minute, Randy Moss, Peyton Manning, Charles Woodson, but it's like, I don't love it that they're in the college uniforms. It's not the end of the world, but I don't know. Is that true in basketball too, or is that just a football?
No. They're NBA uniforms. They're NBA uniforms for sure. Like the Tim Duncan one, which I think is the 98 rookie class. It's his NBA uniform.
Okay.
I'm curious about the PMGs in football. What are like the top sales there? Do you have any numbers that you remember? Like you split it out 18,000 for.
I know a Barry Sanders red, I believe it was a couple years back. I was watching a YouTube video and it was like 18,500 or something like that. But that was
the green's going to be.
I don't even know when the last time a green would have sold. I mean, I can sort of try to check here, but I mean, I don't, because right, there's 15 of them. Let's see.
I mean, the highest price I'm seeing is September 24, 54K for a red. And
okay, that was from last year. That was 54,000. What grade was that in?
9.
Okay, yeah, the last one I saw was maybe like a 6 or something like that.
A green sold for 48.7 in December 2020.
We actually have a pretty cheap one here.
Card ladder, thank you.
I got one off eBay. This sold, okay, let's see the date. There's one that sold here on April 21st, actually. I had not seen this sale, and it sold for about 13,000. A red and a BGS 8.5. So actually, somebody got a steal on that.
April, just like a couple days ago, the one you're looking at.
Yep.
Yeah. Less than 13. Yeah.
15 grand. So yeah, somebody got a steal on that because that a couple years ago, I know for a fact there was a 6 or so. It was like, I think it was a 6, maybe it might have been a 7, but I think it was a 6 sold for about 18. So So that's a steal for somebody because that's one you don't get a
I
chance to get
mean,
your hands on.
Justin, what do you think? I mean, I referenced earlier Stacking Slabs, Nick, the War of Sports Cards was on. I mean, they're just talking about a lot of 90s football, right? And I'm not going to call it a pump, but um, it definitely generated my interest. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
No doubt, I started looking at it, and you too. Those are the two influences. But I mean, that's a lower sale. Like, how do you feel about the market in general for 90s football? Like, is it over? Did it get a bit pumped, overinflated?
I
Still just
I
good
I,
value?
I, I think it got a bit pumped over the last couple years. But I don't know how much of that. So yeah, because if you look at like population and stuff like that, I think some cards and certain players are a little bit higher than I think they should be and a little higher than they historically have been. And I think you're right. There have been an increasing number of channels that obviously are talking about 90s football and showing this stuff. But I also think too, it's a product, right? If you look at, kind of all the COVID collectors coming back in, how old are these guys? They're in our age demographic. What did they grow up collecting? 90s cards, right? So
Yeah.
I think some of it is the pump. So maybe there's a little bit of, I don't know if you're maybe artificialness to it that may cause a bit of a decline over time, or maybe, that high might wear off for some people. But I think a lot of it, even though it's a little bit, again, the market shot up a bit. I think some of that might be sustainable because I think part of it is people like us finding our footing in the hobby, right? Because when you first come back in, you're all over the place, you're unfocused. At least I was, figuring out what I'm going to collect. And, I think a comfortable place for us to settle in, at least for part of our collecting, is what's nostalgic to you. What calls to you? Because a large part of why I think all of us collect, right, is to go back to that time, when we were kids and everything was simple and we were enjoying ourselves and and going back to those cards we saw as kids and connected with us at that time. I think that's a nice place to settle for part of your collecting. So I think part of the reason, yeah, maybe some of the pumping up from the channels, and I don't know if that's completely sustainable in terms of what it's done to the prices, but the part of it that I think comes in from people like us finding their footing in the hobby and settling on kind of a period of nostalgia for them. I mean, I think, long story short, I think there's always going to be a pretty good demand for these 90s cards. Until we all die off or something, down the road. But for the foreseeable future, I still think the values are going to remain pretty strong. At least that's my opinion. Even if they drop off a little, I still think you're going to have pretty strong demand there.
Yeah, and you said the word iconic earlier on, and I think 90s, if not anything else, they have a very specific look about them. And so I
Yeah.
think for better or worse, people are going to love them or hate them, and the ones who love them will pay well for them too. And I think that's important. 90s cards, if you look at them, and I think John has been inspired by Spanish John, let's call him, to kind of deep dive
Definitely.
into these Chrome cards. And I'm so happy that he has because I'm like, I told you these are great.
That was a
And I've
great
shown him a
episode.
couple, and I think that piqued interest.
John's
But
great.
I think he's definitely been sold in the 90s now through John's just breaking it down step by step, and already with yours too. I'm definitely intrigued by some 90s football cards and just the way they look. They look
Yeah.
really cool. They do
Well,
look cool.
on that topic, I'm going to show you my two favorite 90s football cards in my collection are from 1997. And we'll go in this order. This is an insert from Topps Chrome. I really like 97 Topps Chrome. I didn't love 96 Topps Chrome. I love 97 Topps Chrome. This is the Thunder and Lightning insert of Barry Sanders. This is the refractor.
Oh,
I absolutely searched forever to get the right deal on this one. I love this card. Just the colors in the background, the sky, his pose. This is a card that just sucks me in right away. So this is one I mean, nines can go for in the mid 200s. I got this one at 175 in the SGC 9. If this were a PSA 9, it probably would have been $75 to $100 more. I am perfectly happy with the SGC 9. And I would have been happy with an 8, quite frankly, but I got a good deal on this 9. And this was one where I saw it on eBay and it's like, I'm not going to sit there and haggle offers, anything. I want this card. And I'm glad I have it. This to me personally, I love the look of this one. One of my favorite Barry
it's beautiful.
cards.
I mean, I can't help but comment like so many cards have like storms and Thunder.
Yeah.
Like,
So
It's
90s, man.
is that a
yeah.
90s thing in basketball too, Will?
Not
Actually, there
as
were
much in
some.
basketball.
No, there were. What was it? There
There's
was
the
like
Jordan
Freedom was.
one. There's the
Yeah,
famous
the
Jordan one, the
scoring
Scoring
kings.
Kings
Scoring
one.
kings. That's it.
Beautiful. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but like
Beautiful.
the basketball is more like, I don't know, the iconic ones I think of was like PMG with the cities, and
Mhm.
so we got the
That's right.
urban rural divide, I think, a little bit with football and basketball going on. Yeah.
I feel like John needs a side hustle on like a political sociological podcast.
It's all I bullshit about. Yeah, sorry guys.
Oh, I love it. What else? Oh yeah, so I talk about atomic refractors, and this is a set, right, that it's kind of one that people that are in the 90s football hobby, there's a lot of people I know that like it that directed me to it. Because it's a top stadium club subset. It's the triumvirate subset. And I think these are just cool looking cards. They don't get some of the same hype as other inserts from the 90s or other subsets from the 90s, but I love the look of this. This is an atomic refractor. It's the only Barry atomic refractor I have. And I just, to
So
me,
that's
you
a
talk
die
about
cut, huh?
die cut, like you talk about 90s and just over the top flashy. I mean, in the
Awesome.
pack odds of these, I haven't been able to find. I saw on one kind of write up about them that they didn't release them for whatever reason. But this is one of those that if you kind of Google like underrated sets of the 90s, the Triumvirate's one that comes up. And I mean, I love these cards. They have, I actually want the Jerry Rice from this set as well. I think it would be pretty cool because these are good looking cards. So I was very happy to get that Barry. And that's the only atomic refractor I have of his. So that's a card that those are my two. These two right here are my two favorite 90s football cards that I own probably.
So that atomic refractor die cut, you don't know the pack odds you said. Any wild guess at it must be pretty rare, right?
I've read something like you get one in one out of every like 300 packs or something like that.
All right.
But
Very
yeah, I
cool.
don't know. That was a guess. So we're almost winding down. I'm trying to do my best to stay on time here, but man, this stack of 98 cards might make it a little bit tough, but here we go. 98 is a good year because this is the first year where we have some serial numbered base rookie cards, and that's from one of the big brands in the 90s, the SP Authentic, which now is kind of obviously gone by the wayside. But I mean, you guys remember this for basketball. I know it's true for basketball too, but in football, SP Authentic was one of the big brands. And this 98 set, not only is it cool because you have the rookies serial numbered, but it's also cool because that rookie class was spectacular. One of the best in NFL history because you have Randy Moss, all-time great wide receiver, Charles Woodson, all-time great defensive back, Peyton Manning, probably a top 5 quarterback of all time. I do not have Peyton Manning's SP. That's going to be one where if you get into an 8, it can start going for about $850, something like that. So I do not have that one yet. But you also have another pretty good player from that class, fringe Hall of Famer Fred Taylor, who I really liked as a running back. So it's a big rookie class, and SP Authentic had the rookie cards that were serial numbered, the Future Watch cards. And here's the Woodson. I got this in a BGS 8.5. This is the just regular base numbered to 2000. You can see you got the two images on the card, the Future Watch card, and these were a big deal in the 90s. And 2000 seems like a high serial number, and obviously, it sort of is, but there's still some scarcity to it because of the demand for these Future Watch cards. Because these are for all these guys in this 98 class, their PSA registry rookie card is the SP Authentic, so that adds to the demand a bit and makes them tough to come by.
I mean, this makes me want to ask a question. I mean, 2,000 cards does sound like a lot, but how many survive? Like, how many people in the 90s are collecting football cards or still have their football cards? Like, it's different than basketball. I'm sure those collectors and buyers kept a lot of their stuff, whereas mom might have thrown out the football cards. Right?
There's far less than 2,000 out there, obviously, of those. I don't know exactly what the pop is, but yeah, you're not going to have, especially, the Manning probably a little bit higher because people would have probably kept him. Woodson, he was a great player. I don't know. He did win the Heisman. He was the first defensive player to win the Heisman, so maybe people hung on to him. But yeah, you're probably right too that some of them would have gotten, in a shoebox and eventually tossed out. So So I don't know. That's a good point though, because actual number out there, I mean, certainly less than 2,000, but again, demand being high too makes it still kind of a tough card. Now, if you want one that's a little tougher yet, and this is this is another one that I love in my collection because I love Randy Moss. I met him when I was a kid. Super cool guy. So I PC Moss a bit. I have another Moss card coming up here too, but this one, so the base card
Cool.
number to 2,000 had a die cut parallel number to 500. I picked this up. I worked this deal a couple years ago. My son was I was rocking him to sleep. The room was dark, so I can't move him. I have him in my arm, right? And I'm scrolling eBay to keep myself awake because he had colic, right? So like we weren't sleeping, so I'm trying to keep myself awake while I hold him so I don't fall asleep. So I'm scrolling eBay, and I saw this pop up, and I shot an offer on it. And these usually go for close to 300. I got this one for 240. Shot an offer at I think I shot an offer at like 225. Guy came back at 240, and I couldn't believe it. And accept. So worked this deal while I was rocking my son to sleep. So it kept me awake. I mean, I was jacked after that, after I picked this up, so I didn't have problems. But number to 500, this one, this one I had multiple offers for well over what I paid for it. I am not interested in moving this. I love this card.
Yeah, I mean,
what's interesting about those SP Authentic cards? Can you just hold that one up again?
Absolutely.
It reminds me, and I mean, I think what I love about the two picture thing, and I mean, I know very little bit about football cards, but it reminds me of that Night Train Lane rookie card where you've got the two images side by side. So it feels like that's, and there's another set too as well. Like there's one where you had a Jim Brown card and that had two images on there too. So I feel like the double image idea is very football centric because you kind of get that sometimes with the basketball where you'll get a player with an action pose and then you'll get maybe a portrait in the background of them. But with these ones, it's very much here's an action shot here, here's a closer one of the person so you can see them in their frame. And this is exactly the same. So at least it's following a football card tradition, which is awesome. I really like that too.
And you're thinking of 57 tops and then 62 tops. And awesome analogy because I mean, I've always thought of 98 SP Authentic and 57 tops as having kind of a similar ethos to them. And you bring up 62 and it's the same deal. So that's awesome. Speaking of Randy Moss, 98, another kind of cool first. It was the first year we see Bowman Chrome football, which would kind of become more iconic post 2000 because one of Brady's more iconic rookie cards is the 2000 Bowman Chrome. But Randy Moss again, this is his Bowman Chrome refractor. Picked this up this year in a multi-card deal I did with a seller I know on eBay. I actually like 98 Bowman Chrome better than I like 98 Topps Chrome, to be perfectly honest. But I am a fan of this shot. I'm a fan of this design. And I wanted a Moss rookie refractor. So this one cost me, I want to say I got that one for 220. So not cheap, but not unpalatable either. So 98's got some cool stuff going on.
I'll share my 198 card.
Oh, that's 98 Flair Showcase. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
that's another
that
cool
Flair
set.
Showcase is the two image one. That's exactly the same as the basketball.
Yeah.
You have the portrait shot of them, and then you've got them in action, and it's of John's GOAT. Amazing.
Yeah, I mean he probably is the best football player ever. And this is the Grace.
Yeah, the Grace parallel
or something. It's a little more rare or something, but it was $18 and it's incredible looking and it's Jerry Rice. Like this is insane. Like I think
that 98 Flair Showcase,
that's really cheap.
And there's a great looking cards. That 98 Flair Showcase. I mean, obviously there's sets we're leaving out because we're already bumping up against an hour. We've only covered a handful of sets. So if we covered them all, we'd be here all day. But I mean, Flair Showcase is a beautiful set, very affordable. You got, some big rookies in there because it's the 98 class. You got Jerry Rice, Barry Sanders, all those guys. So awesome choice for like a lower cost set with some great looking cards.
That's incredible because the basketball ones around the same time are really expensive, especially when you get into the parallels.
These
if you're getting Hall of Fame, forget about it.
If you get into the legacy parallels, if you get into like row zero, some of these that are numbered.
Sure.
This is like row zero quality.
But even that,
beautiful card. Yeah.
But with the NBA, you can forget about it. Like it's just like this is already way out of my price range. Like
Yeah.
you're starting at hundreds to be,
Oh
and it's
wow,
like
really?
a
I
bottom
didn't know
end
that.
kind
Yeah.
of guy. Yeah, they're so
Wow.
expensive.
Yeah. Rose
Wow.
zeros,
Yeah, I had no idea.
at least $100, at least.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
oh, that and you're talking about like a Hall of Fame guy, but not someone that collectors kind of flock to.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
some
someone like
hideaway
Terry
might be
Rice, who's the
80.
GOAT.
Let's say, for example.
I mean, yeah, definitely.
Exactly. Yeah, it's crazy. $18 for that.
Yeah.
That's out of control.
Oh. Well, we've almost made it to the end of the 90s marathon here. We're at 99. And there's not much that comes, not much new in 99, not a spectacular rookie class. The one thing that I will point out is with, I guess I'll go back to 98 for a minute. In addition to the SP Authentic numbered rookies I showed, they also had Players Inc. rookie autos. This is Freddie Taylor, Fringe Hall of Fame.
Yeah, cool. Cool.
This was like $17. So I have one from 98, but kind of the big rookie in 99, or at least, kind of, yeah, I would say probably the big guy from 99 was Edgerrin James. And I do have his Players Inc. From the 99 SP Authentic rookie
On
class.
card, I assume, huh?
Yep, on card, beautiful auto, BGS 9. I got this for $35. This guy is a Hall of Famer. I don't even collect Edgerrin James, but I saw this for $35. I'm like, well, I feel like I'd be doing something stupid not purchasing this. A rookie auto on card, great set in a 9.
Do you ever get tired of winning so much, Justin? I mean, it's just winning all the time.
Well, lucky I lose in a lot of other facets of life. So the wins in sports cards just kind of keep me going when I have them. So, and then this last one, I don't have a rationale for this, but I love the 99 Bowman's Best refractors. The big one in that set's going to be Kurt Warner. If you guys are familiar with him, he was a quarterback for the Rams that went from like bagging and playing arena football to a MVP, Super Bowl champion, Hall of Fame quarterback. His refractor from that set's going to be a few $100 in like a 9. His atomic is going to be 4 figures. All I have is the base. But I do have another refractor from that set of a guy who, if there are any Detroit Lions fans listening, you're going to love this guy. Nobody else is going to care. Herman Moore. This was my guy, right?
That's a pretty card, man.
Beautiful card.
That is so cool.
These are numbered. These refractors are numbered to 400. There's an atomic refractor version too, where if you got, for example, the Barry Sanders in this, in the atomic refractor, I mean, yeah, probably like 3,000-4,000, something like that in a decent grade. Maybe a little less, but right about in that area. Herman Moore, if you'd have talked to 1995, Justin, he would have argued with you that Herman Moore was just as good as Jerry Rice. He would have been wrong, but he would have argued it with passion. But I just love this set. And this is like, I bought this thing raw for $3 and I'm like, I want this in a slab. I don't care what the grade comeback says. I want it in the slab. So, when people ask the question, why would someone grade that card? The answer is because I want it in the slab and I like the way it looks and whatever.
It's aesthetically very pleasing. That's such a good looking card.
I just
the
love
action
that
shot. He's in motion and he's not holding the ball. It's he's kind of flicked it up or something. It looks
By the way,
great.
Justin, I've noticed you like SGC.
I'm an SGC guy. Yes,
Yeah.
I love. I will buy PSA, but if I'm grading, I'm sending off to SGC. I like the customer service. I like the prices. I like the turnaround time. And especially for vintage cards, I like the look of the slabs. But in general, I prefer the look of an SGC slab for any card. But with vintage, it's not even close between SGC. For me personally, that's a very personal thing. But those are my preferences.
Yeah, likewise.
Do you think also because they have that reputation with vintage as well, that SGC seems better for a vintage card collector? Because I feel like that's the case with a lot of the other
I would argue that SGC is the top of the line for vintage, and I'm not alone in that. If you poke around on YouTube, there's a lot of vintage guys that do exclusively SGC. I mean, I was on the channel. I don't know if you guys have ever seen For Collectors. It's more of a vintage channel. I was on there maybe a few weeks back, and one of the guys who runs that channel, his name's John. He will literally, if he gets a card in a PSA slab, he will resub it with SGC. He is that much of an SGC guy, and he's a big vintage collector. So yeah, I'm not quite that much of a loyalist, but if I send off to SGC. And quite frankly, I love the fact that, SGC cards are going to run me less money when I buy them. It's a slab I like the look of better. And, I sometimes like that Barry I showed earlier, the Thunder and Lightning one. I mean, if I'd have bought that in a PSA slab, this one, I mean, it would have run me probably an extra 50, 75, $100. So I was, win-win.
Great.
Love it.
So
Let's wrap up. I think we've gone long enough, right? And we could go longer, but I'm just a bit of the cop here. Obviously, I'm the very
yeah.
serious guy here. Uh, and any kind of though, Justin, this is the floor to you. I think like advice to people getting into it, or just thoughts about it, or I don't know, take it however you want.
There's a lot out there. So, one thing that I would say for 90s football is kind of take the time to walk through some of the sets, see what you like. Um, you know, Try to price it out a bit because it can be a little bit confusing because atomic refractors from year to year, the prices can vary quite a bit, right? Refractors from year to year, same thing. Different inserts, some obviously more scarce than others. So take the time to figure out the landscape a bit. It can be a little bit confusing. I had to reacclimate myself this past winter when I really started, getting more heavy into the 90s stuff. I had to take some time to go through and research, see what I like, see what was worth what and all that sort of thing. So take some time to do that, but also, have fun with it. And, I have tons of 90s cards that aren't. I mean, we focused on some of the bigger stuff today. Have fun with it. The base cards are great from these sets. Go on ComC and, have fun picking up some stuff that's nostalgic for $1, $2, 50 cents. Load the card up with those things because those are a lot of fun too. So, but yeah, I would say the biggest thing is if you're looking at bigger cards, take some time to see what you like before just kind of, diving in and picking up refractors without knowing if it's your favorite one that you would prioritize. And, you're going to see a lot of stuff out there where prices are all over the place, where people are going to try to get you. And one more thing I'd say too is be careful buying refractors from the 94 set online if they're not graded, because people are going to list it as a refractor and the 94s don't have anything on the back. Like, for example, the 95s, I don't know if you can see it on this book, but there's an R down in the corner that says, that denotes refractor. That's not true for the 94s. So be very careful buying those raw if it's not in person.
Same thing for
Great advice.
93 as well, basketball.
Mm.
Will, you maybe you must know that. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's my sense of it. Will, anything to add?
No, I'm really happy about that. It's definitely given me a new appreciation for 90s football cards. And it always happens whenever I get into an interview of these. I'm like, oh, I quite like that card. Maybe I'll pick it up myself. So I'm just going to have to temper my addiction to sports cards and
Yeah, I mean,
just pick up one or two really cheap but really nice looking 90s cards.
it's like it's a slightly emerging market, I think. To me, like
Yeah.
soccer cards are still an emerging market. It's starting to solidify around some sets, but depending how long the legs are of this hobby, which I think will be long for decades, then I mean, I think it will start to gain more footing, 90s football cards. I mean, it's kind of
It
aesthetically
already
nice, so why
has.
not?
The last few years, we've seen it kind of go up. And like I said, I think a lot of that's probably sustainable because you got guys like us who, like to hunker down in nostalgia a little bit. So yeah, if that's your thing. I mean, I probably care less about that. I buy the things I like, and much to my wife's chagrin, I never really sell a lot of my PC cards. But if that is an angle you're coming at it from, yeah, I do think that it's a market that's going to stay potentially steady for a while.
Justin, well, thanks so much for joining us. We'll look forward to your first episode as a host of Global Card Collectors in the coming weeks. And
Yeah, man.
you guys enjoy your days, huh?
Yeah, take care, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right. See ya.